what are your general impressions, without going into the weeds here, on the Biden infrastructure plan called the American Jobs Plan?
My broad view is that it is an excellent starting point. I think that we have underinvested in things like infrastructure and R&D for the better part of the better part of my lifetime, really. We've had, growing disrepair and, maintenance backlogs. We've reduced R&D spending. I think it is long past time to restore our commitment to these important public investments that really lay the foundation for economic growth. Every time I've been on here, I've talked about the importance of public investment. And I think this is the first time where it looks like we're finally going to do a big thing about them. So I'm very excited about the broad framework. I think that some of the details could be better. There are changes I certainly would make, but I'm very happy with it as a starting point for what I think could be a big, important generational investment.
Yeah, I have a different view on it. I think for the $2.6 trillion cost, there is remarkably little bang for the buck here. I mean, for an infrastructure bill, the biggest line item in it is $400 billion for long-term care, which, good or bad, has nothing to do with infrastructure. You also have money for community violence prevention. You have money for a civilian climate corps. You have a lot here that I think really isn't really infrastructure. As for the infrastructure portion, one of my concerns is we have a really inefficient infrastructure system in America in terms of the way we do projects. We're slow, we're bureaucratic, we're expensive, and there's delays. And what this plan does is basically just throw $1 trillion at it without really fixing the underlying problems that prevent us from getting a lot of bang for the buck. Additionally, I know Ben mentioned the R&D. I guess my concern is when Ben sees as R&D, I see as too much central planning, essentially. I prefer R&D where the government is encouraging businesses through things like the R&D tax credit, rather than handing out money to industries who undertake approved projects. To me, that's not the best way to do R&D. I think I think you invite corruption. I think you invite centralization. And then finally, I think the taxes are difficult. It's about $1.5 trillion and on businesses. And I think even if you agree with the taxes on this, you're using up a lot of taxes that I think we would have needed for other priorities. So I'm not a fan of this initiative.